Hi class, this video is going to discuss your next project, which is your diet debate paper, which is due on March 25th. It will take you that long. That's the reason why we're discussing it early. So let's go into the folder. You can find everything you need right here. It lives outside of a weekly folder because it's going to take a couple weeks to complete. The very first thing about the diet debate paper is making sure that you've completed your library literacy certification. I do this to ensure the fact that you can navigate the library because in order to be successful on this paper, you will need to know how to do research. Once you have completed that, you can select a topic. All you need to do is edit the wiki. Each topic can have two names associated with it. You see I already have a student who's selected a topic. You need to edit the wiki in order to add your name. If you want to research a diet that is not in here, you can do a write-in and tell me what diet you want to research. Just keep in mind that you want to research something that there's research on. And so feel free to reach out to me in that process if there's something that you want to study that you just don't see there. So let's leave this area and come back out. And now we will look at the rest of the components. And so when we look at the paper, I would like you to use this exact format. So every heading for this paper is outlined here. So I want your very first heading to say introduction, hypothesis, method, so on. That's going to be really important for the construction of the paper, making sure that you're achieving everything you're supposed to be doing within the paper, and helping me to grade the paper. Okay, and so what you're going to do starting off is you're going to give us an introduction. This is the only place in the paper where you can use the word I, because I'm asking you why you have selected this topic. So you're allowed to tell me why you have selected this topic. This is also the only place in the paper where you can use non-peer-reviewed sources. And so if you want to use their website or a blog or anything like that that tells us about the history of the diet, the claims, because in this section we're not actually deciding are the claims true, we're just saying what are the claims made by the creators. This is going to be about 1 page in length. You can go over these page lengths if you like. What you really have to be careful of is if you're coming up short on the page length, you may not really be hitting the mark on all these components. So when you get to the methods section, this is where you have to switch from the first person to the third person. And you need to explain the methods with which you went by to do the investigation that you're doing. So you may say something like, investigation began at the CWI library. The first utilized words in order to research the diet were keto and Atkins, for example. So here's where you're telling me the process that you went through. When you think about writing this paper and how to construct your time, the hardest part of this work is actually happening in the methods section. It will take you the most time to narrow down and to go through the literature to decide what literature you're going to use for your paper. That won't happen overnight. In addition, you're going to have to be creative with the type of words you use, because when people publish literature, they don't say paleo diet, or they may not say ketogenic diet. They may say high fat, no grain, right, which is kind of ketogenic, or they might use other vocabulary. So you can start definitely with just typing in the diet, but keep in mind that you're going to have to maybe type in components of the diet to get literature that you're looking for. And so that will be the methods section. Short to write, long to do. The results section. So this is where a majority of your paper is coming from. This is where you're describing the research to the reader, which is me. And you are talking about the studies that have been done that prove, disprove, show differences, whatever you may be looking at. There's not a right way to do, there's not a right amount of research to choose as long as you're choosing peer-reviewed research. Here you're going to outline the studies, and you're going to tell me what happened in the studies. Do not use quotes. I think I put in here something like limit quotes to once or twice, no more than a sentence, because I don't want quoted work, I want your written work. Okay, so in this section, you will have a minimum of 7 citations. 5 of them need to come from peer-reviewed journals, and I'm going to talk about what that means. And so that's going to be very important. This is where students mess up. The 2 places students mess up the most, they don't do it APA style, meaning their citations and the references are not correct. They don't choose peer-reviewed sources. They end up giving me blog posts. They end up giving me newspaper. They say because it came from WebMD, that must be peer-reviewed, and that's not true at all. And so it's going to be very important that you make sure you can identify clearly what a peer-reviewed journal article is and that you are selecting those. Here you're writing the conclusion. And so here you're given the research you did and everything you've laid out in our paper. What are the claims? Are they true? Are they not true? Are they partially true? Are there valuable components to the diet? For example, one could argue a benefit of paleo is that it is high in vegetables and healthy fats. So not really high in healthy fats, but it's relatively generally good in that regard. So that could be a benefit, even though many would argue the benefit of high protein, and you'll see with forks over knives, it's probably not there. And so you may decide that there are some components. Also evaluate why the claims might be true or not true. You know, for example, we have had multiple fad diets, right? The grapefruit diet, all of that stuff. Well, if you do nothing but drink grapefruit juice for 3 days, are you going to lose weight? You're probably going to lose weight. You're going to lose a lot of electrolytes. You're going to lose a lot of body water, a lot of things. Was that because of the grapefruit? No, that was because you didn't eat for 3 days. And so keep that in mind too. Like, are the claims true? But are they true because of what they're eating or what they're taking, or are they true because something else changed? And then, are there any recommendations that can be made from your investigation? Are there components you would recommend versus non-recommend? Again, always keeping it though in the third person. And so paper guidelines, what I'm looking for, you don't need a cover page and you don't need a running head. You do need to be APA style 6th edition. This is very particular to the way you cite something and then your reference section. And I'll show you those both. All citations have to have an accompanying reference. So you can't reference something in the reference section unless there's a citation in the body of your paper. So many students misunderstand that and they think, well, I read this in a textbook and I got that information, and they're doing their best to not plagiarize, and so they're listing that out. When in reality, unless you've used it as a citation, you can't list it out. And if you use a citation, you have to have the accompanying reference. That your paper is free from spelling and grammar errors, of course, and that you have a limit on quotes. So I would honestly say it's best never to quote. If you feel like you're just forced into it, no more than 2 sentences. And obviously the paper should demonstrate thought, time, and effort. Here are the basic outlines. As you're going through, if you have questions and you're not sure, by all means, please email me. We can always meet in my office too. This is a major paper for you and it's really important. And so I want to make sure that you have all the support you need along the way. And so let's close this out and then let's get to a few things here. So read this on what a scholarly or peer-reviewed journal article is. Because when we talk about peer review, it means the experts in the field have reviewed the research or the experiment done by the researchers, have proved it to be valid and reliable, and is meant for the masses. Okay, so it's not always, but likely free of bias, control, things like that. These is really important. They're not op-ed. They're never opinion pieces. Obviously, the researcher has a hypothesis they're intending to prove, but the body of experts sets to ensure the fact that that hasn't overridden the data or overridden the science. And so please read through that. In addition, I've given you a sample paper. Now, this is a paper I wrote in college, so it has nothing to do with nutrition because this was when I was getting my degree in psychology. But it does give examples of what APA format looks like as far as citations and references go. If you want to see what this looks like in the body of a real paper, This is a great place to start. In addition, I've given you access to a tutorial and the Purdue Online Writing Lab. This is hands down, if you're writing APA in my field, exercise science, psych, nutrition, all of us, we all write APA only. And so this is the place to go for awesome APA. And so here you can see all the basics. Now, some of these I'm not requiring of you. Again, really focusing on citations and references. So here we go, in-text citations by authors, how to do a reference list, what are the rules, what's the structure. This all laid out here for you. And so you have no reason to not be completely successful in that process. Okay, so this is everything you ever needed to know about writing this research paper, and please feel free to contact me if you have questions, and I think that this will be great. Good luck.